Champ Car is ready to roar by the shore. We're about to rock and roll in Cleveland. It is one of the signature sights of Cleveland, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Champ Car's back in town, and there are plenty of parallels between rockin' and racing. Like the Aussie Will Power, for example. As with his countryman AC/DC, he brings the intense thunder from down under. One of the surprises this young season has been the emergence of Robert Dornbos. His podium prowess has caught many by surprise. This is PT, the toughest guy in town. Paul Tracy often regarded as the toughest competitor too. He's faced down some mighty challengers. Rookie Graham Rahal has demonstrated championship-level skills inherited from his dad, Bobby, and he has youth on his side. And then there's Sébastien Bourdais, the three-time reigning series champion. Soft-spoken, this great Frenchman is a tenacious and fierce competitor. Well, that's Champ Car's top 5 countdown for now, but there are 12 more contenders hoping to climb the charts and finish Cleveland as #1 with a bullet. It's next here on CBS. And we welcome you live to Burke Lakefront Airport in Cleveland, round 5 of the 2007 season. It's the Champ Car World Series Grand Prix of Cleveland, presented by LaSalle Bank. Sébastien Bourdais is again the championship leader. He's won 3 in a row. Quickest here. Let's get more from pit road. Cameron Steele.
Well, Sébastien's been rocking him like a hurricane as the cars head out to grid up, but he hasn't just been hurting feelings here at Champ Car. Since the beginning of 2003, he has been the winningest driver in all forms of motorsports. That's pretty serious business. We talked to Sébastien before he got in the car, and I said, "Do the stats pump you up?" He said, "No, I race for race wins." Pretty amazing. Very determined guy. Let's head over to Bill Stevens, who's with one of his proteges.
Yeah, the song that keeps going through my head, Cameron, is A Little Help from My Friends. Last year when Simone won the Atlantic Championship, he wanted to move to Champ Car. Well, Sébastien Bourdais said, "I like that kid. He's a fellow countryman. I can help." Made a few phone calls. Next thing you know, Simone has a ride with Team Australia. Both of those drivers on the front row today, and I'm betting that when the green light goes on, all that friend stuff goes out the window. Rick?
And they will share the front row, and we welcome you to Burke Lakefront Airport Live. I'm Rick Benjamin. Jan Beekes is alongside for coverage of the Champ Car World Series. Getting set to go. The car's forming up here shortly. Jan, when everyone comes to Cleveland, they think first about turn 1. But last year, Bourdais got caught out on the run off 1 up to turn 2.
Here, Sébastien figured he had got through turn #1 and he was clean, but what he didn't know was that Paul Tracy was going to try and shoot the gap between he and his teammate. It was one of the scariest moments of the year last year, the car going up and over Sébastien Bourdais, in fact, up and over on his helmet. Knocked him out, put him in the hospital. But traditionally here in Cleveland, it's all about the approach to turn #1. Today is going to be a standing start. Momentarily, they're going to roll behind me and take their position for a standing start. So today, it's not going to be a 150-mile-an-hour approach to turn #1. It's going to be a mere 90. Well, at 90 miles an hour, you can still have a pretty big wreck, but I think that reduction in speed should make it much safer. Now, the onboards today will be Graham Rahal on the left. He just passed behind me here, getting ready to get up for the standing start. Will Power and Justin Wilson. They're here warming up the tires. Next will be the flying standing start at Cleveland.
All right, as we take a look from those onboard views, the cars coming down the final couple of corners. They will come to a stop here on the front straightaway. Pagenaud lines up alongside the champion Bourdais on the front row. Graham Rahal, Will Power, second in the championship in the second row. Row 3, Dan Clark, Robert Dornbos, very impressive rookie. And on the 4th row, there's Paul Tracy, the former series champion, alongside Wilson. Row number 5 here today, Oriol Servia, the veteran Alex Tagliani. Back to the 6th row, it looks like this. Tristan Gomedy and his teammate Neil Johnny for PKV. In the 7th row here at Cleveland, Bruno Junqueira and Alex Figge, the only American in the field. Good qualifying effort. Ryan Dial, his teammate, and Catherine Lake, the only female driver in the series. Jan Halen making his second start of the year. He will line up shotgun on the field in row number 9 today. So 17 cars and drivers ready to get going. Second standing start in Champ Car history. First one a couple of weeks ago at Portland was successful. Everyone got away cleanly. And what we'll see now, the cars will come to a stop. There will be a time command given. We'll see a sequence of red lights over the field. When they go out, these drivers are free to go.
So interesting about Sebastian Bourdais taking screen right. Traditionally, you would want to take the other side of the racetrack, but he thinks it's cleaner. Should have more grip. Here we go.
Green.
Everyone away clean again. Battling for second, Bourdais gets the drop on Pagenaud. Will Power up into second.
And they're clean.
There's Rahal. On board the Metazone car.
Oh, he's trying to go to the inside, but can't hold the spot.
The two Aussie Vineyards cars, a great start. There's Johnny in the Red Bull machine, Catherine Legge in the Sonny's Barbecue 11. Bourdais where he wants to be on out front.
Everyone is where they want to be because so many people thought that there was a chance of piling up in turn 1. This is the second race in a row, only the second standing start for Champ Car. It's been brilliant. Everyone gets through cleanly because they are more spaced, slower speed on the approach. Now, you don't lose all the cars in turn number 1. Everybody's got a shot to race and find out, does anything have something for Sebastian Bourdais?
Well, one of the things at stake here this week is Bourdais kicks up a little dust coming onto the front straightaway. The two Team Australia cars behind him. He's gunning for 4 wins in a row in the series. It would tie his series record. Power up into second, as we mentioned. Pagenaud, Robert Dornbos fourth, and a move to the inside. Justin Wilson trying to get by Speedy Dan Clark there. On board Wilson, the red CDW9.
And Dan Clark had to check up. He did the right thing. Justin Wilson made an aggressive move to the inside, and Dan Clark fought him for a moment and then thought better of it. Got on the brakes, almost got collected by another car just behind. So far, this is a place that is so tempting because it's wide and there's lots of room. The drivers are respecting each other. This is a great way to start it off.
Justin Wilson trying to work his way up through the field. Had a runner-up finish at Portland 2 weeks ago. His best run of the year. He got by Clark there on the start. So Wilson trying to bring that car up to form, really, as they head to the main straightaway. First time was clean. This is lap number 2. Let's have another look at how they came through the standing start.
Great start for Sebastian Bourdais. Dan Clark in the black and red stepped out but wasn't able to improve position. And Graham Rahal in the light blue and white car kind of got a great start but didn't have any place to go. He was consistent, held back, great overhead shot. You can see that Graham Rahal on the right-hand side of the screen gets fantastic drive. But discretion was the better part of valor. Decided he would hang behind the Team Australia cars. And look at the correction by Will Power. He's turning left to go right because he got that kind of wheel spin. Look at how late he was on the brakes to try to go around the outside. Fantastic camera angle the way that you can pan. What a great battle between he and his teammates.
Now from the Metazone car of Rahal, starting 4th here.
And I think he got one of the best starts. Now that was a whale of a start there. He just rocketed into turn 1. But we know that he got a great start and unfortunately decided to back off and take the position instead of fighting for it. And hats off to everybody because now everybody's got a car in one piece. And let's find out who's fast. And I think Rahal's one of them. Here he comes after Dornbos.
Graham Rahal to the inside, down at 1, almost gets squeezed out. He has enough room to get through. Robert Dornbos there in the Ozjet 14 gives up a position, so Rahal moves to 4th. Now Dornbos right back at it.
It's one of these places, the pass and the repass. Dornbos should be in the right spot.
But now Rahal's on the inside. Oh, Rahal has to get round. And Tracy gets into Rahal. Paul Tracy trying to come up through the field, tags Rahal as he was spinning both cars off the racetrack. On board with Rahal. And caution, full course yellow being displayed here with 3 laps on the board.
There was no question that Graham Rahal got out in the slippery stuff. He slowed way down, had the car sideways, tried to bring it back, but of course Paul Tracy came through at full song trying to take advantage of that. And wow, that was some heavy contact.
So Tracy and Rahal get together. Now Tracy was a big part of that incident a year ago on lap 1. Here's what happened a moment ago.
See, Dornbos pushes him wide just because of his speed, but then right there, Paul Tracy tries to do the duck underneath move. Just misjudged it. That's Paul Tracy's fault, because you've got Graham Rahal, and this has got to be the best way to look at it, because he comes off at turn number 1, he gets good drive, but now there's a slipstream. Dornbos gets a little bit of the air, hearted in front of him, gets perfect position, and slots into that spot. But right here, Rahal's trying to hang on to it. He's like, whoa, look out, and then just gets speared. I know what Paul Tracy was trying to do. Paul Tracy was trying to take advantage of it, but look, he tries to duck underneath. He just misjudged it.
Didn't have enough room to turn the car. The car washed out on him. It looks like knocked off the front wing of the Forsyth Index car number 3.
And that's a shame for Graham Rahal for obvious reasons. He's from New Albany. We've talked about the fact that this is his home race. All his family is here. He had a fast car, had a great start. He was conservative, and as a matter of fact, he was leaving room for Dornbos.
14 will be black flagged for a drive-through penalty for blocking. Car 14, drive-through for blocking. When we go green, the penalty must be served under the green flag.
So that's the word from race control. Robert Dornbos will have to serve a drive-through penalty for his positioning on the racetrack. Apparently, race control figures he did not give Rahal enough room in that exchange over in turns 3 and 4. Bourdais is the leader. We'll be back in Cleveland. 5 laps are on the board this afternoon at the Champ Car Grand Prix of Cleveland, starting to pick up the speed for a restart. Bill Stevens.
Down here with Neil Mickelwright, and Neil, very quickly, looked like Paul may have made a miscue out there.
Could be. I couldn't really see it from this angle. I think he was trying to get by Rahal, obviously knocked off the front wing, so we've replaced that. We're at the back of the field. Long day, so we'll see what we can make of it.
And he also says that the car seems to be okay, should not be a problem.
Well, Tracy did not lose a lap. The only driver a lap down, Alex Figge, actually 2 laps down, coming to the restart.
According to some of the radio transmissions, when Graham Rahal was on his way onto the pits, he put more of the blame on Dornbos than he did Tracy. And look at this move.
On the inside,
it's like Tagliani.
Alex Tagliani in the steelhead car. One car goes around. Might be Bruno Junqueira back there. We'll have to get a look-see. It is Bruno in the Sonny's Barbecue 19, Dale Coyne's car. Bruno Junqueira gets turned around right after the restart, and he has stalled that car. He's got the visor up. That probably will bring out the yellow again because he's right in the middle of the exit to turn 1. We stay green for now. Here's another look.
First, we see the move.
That Tracy?
Up front.
It's like Serbia and Tracy both involved there to a degree. PC tagged him.
Yeah. So Paul Tracy is 2 for 2.
He's got more front wing damage. So the driver of the Forsyth Index 3 car will have to make his 2nd consecutive stop. Now, he didn't lose a lap in the first incident. They replaced the nose cone, restarted 13th. He's trying to stay on the lead lap here. He's hustling the car.
Here, Neil Mickelwright talking to him somewhat in the background, but boy, Paul Tracy. Not what he was looking for, that's for sure.
Paul Tracy won here in 2003, the year he was the Champ Car champion. And here he comes to the attention of the Forsyth crew. Bill, it's a bit of a tough day for him so far.
Oh, boy, they're really thrashing down here, Rick Benjamin, as Paul Tracy comes in once again. They thought the car was fine. They didn't anticipate there'd be another problem, and yet they've now discovered that they need to do more repair work on the car. They are also putting on a fresh set of Bridgestone Potenza, staying with the primary tires, and they just topped off the fuel. But, as you can see, this pit stop is costing them a little bit of time as they fit that piece back onto the front of the car.
This will shuffle Paul Tracy back to 16th on the restart, but he should be able to stay on the lead lap and pack back up. Jan, take us around 2.1 miles here.
Well, the first and most important thing about an airport circuit, and now we've seen what happens, it's wide and it's inviting. Now, we saw an excellent drive by everybody off the standing start through turn number 1, but as you approach the rhythm section of the racetrack, which is where Graham Rahal and Dornbos had their little tussle, is right in here. And those are ones where you're coming from a runway to a taxiway, so you have the crown on the road, and don't forget right here, there's a wall on the exit of turn number 8. That's the one big thing you can hit here that can hurt.
A tow for Junqueira now, and that's a look at Burke Lakefront Airport's road course. If you want to take a lap on the edge with Will Power as he roars around this circuit, 2.1 miles, log on to the series website, champcar.ws. second caution early here at Cleveland, and we talked about it at the top of the broadcast, Jan. Normally, it's the entrance to turn one, or at least it has been in past years. That's been the big trouble point. Last year was off of one. This year, first couple of laps were clean. It was jockeying for position going into one.
It's a case where if you're going to gain position, you know your best shot is going to be early on for obvious reasons. All the cars are close together. If you're going to take a risk, you're going to take it in the first couple of laps. If you don't take it in the first corner, you're going to take it shortly thereafter. Paul Tracy was trying to take advantage of what happened to Graham Rahal. That first incident, Paul Tracy just misjudged it a little bit. Remember, the air was taken away from the front of Paul Tracy's car there briefly. He thought he could make it, but yet he couldn't. And again, we've heard from Graham Rahal on the radio. He blames Dornbos more about pushing him out of the way. Now the second one, that was awfully aggressive, certainly by Paul Tracy.
All right, Cameron Steele's in Graham Rahal's pit. Why is he coming in so early, Cam?
Well, they're just going to work with the strategy since they're on the back of the pack. They're going to come in and top off and hope it pays off a little bit later. I want to note one thing for you guys. Pretty interesting here. Tim Hornborg, who is known as Dog on the team, he's the right rear tire changer. He was at Graham's christening when he was a baby, and he's part of his crew here today.
A lot of family history. The brand new Mazda RX-8 pace car making its debut this weekend. We're at the Champ Car World Series Grand Prix of Cleveland. Mazda, the official car of the Champ Car World Series. Beautiful piece of equipment, pretty quick around here as well. Sebastian Bourdais has led from the start, fastest in both sessions of qualifying. Jan, pit strategy is always a huge part of Champ Car World Series racing. Bruno Junqueira may be done for the day. They couldn't get the car bump started evidently, and he's pulled the padding out, taken the wheel off. Not good news certainly for Bruno Junqueira, one of the great veterans in this series. We'll talk more about strategy to Bill Stevens first.
Dale Coyne, boy, a weekend that didn't start off too great is getting worse by the moment.
Turn one, last year we were running second on the last lap here and got punted and taken out of the race, and now we got Tracy's taken two of them out already, and it's a shame. You know, we had a really good car this morning. We were sixth quick this morning, and Bruno was moving up to the field, so we felt we could have, you know, we're sixth in the points this deep into the season. We were really counting on some more points here. So
what has Bruno said to you?
He tried to take off. He said it doesn't feel right, something broke. Looks like the left rear is a little askew. So
another tough break for Dale Coyne Racing this week.
Dale Coyne, the veteran team owner there. There's Bruno Junqueira out of the race car, and obviously something broken in the rear end after that incident with Tracy.
What a shame. And you could see from the replay, to use Paul Tracy's own quote, he gave him the chrome horn. Definitely came up, gave him the punt from behind. You know, certainly Paul, once he drops to the back, wants to be aggressive. But like Dale Coyne said, unfortunately, that's two for Paul. Graham Rahal is still running, but Bruno Junqueira obviously is not.
The last 2 years here at Cleveland have not been kind for Paul Tracy. He hasn't made it to lap 4 yet, either last year or this year, and he was the winner here in 2005. There's still debris on the racetrack, the word from race control. So we will not go green this time by the Mazda Speed safety car. The RX-8 still out on the racetrack as the cars come down the Mazda Speed front straightaway here at Burke Lakefront Airport.
And it's interesting that the Halmatro safety crew actually got to do some work today in the last race in Portland and went without a caution. They had nothing to clean up, nothing to do. And in fact, they were the recipients of an award from the Boy Scouts of America. They won Sportsman of the Year in Portland. Yep. So hats off to the Halmatro safety team.
They do a wonderful job. You know, we are in the shadow really of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Earlier this week, the Pacific Coast Motorsports boys, Ryan Dial and Alex Figge, had an opportunity to tour that beautiful facility.
I had a blast coming. I came once in 02 or 03, but it was nice to be able to come around and look at all the stuff. And I have a huge amount of worthless pop culture knowledge in my brain, so it's a good place to show it off. My dad likes to think of himself as a bit of a pop genius back in his days. He was actually in a band for like 5 or 6 years before he kind of moved into the family business. So he definitely did some performing with some of the big stars here. My dad's a huge Beatles fan, and to be honest, like kind of floated down to the generations into myself and my brother. Like I have to admit, some of the costumes I can see myself slipping into on a Saturday night.
Now this is a real instrument.
Yeah.
No guitar, no drums.
That's
just
true.
a little, just pipers.
Ryan's dad, Mr. DL, was the leader of a group called the Little DL and the Tip Toppers back in the 60s, and he claims they were the best band in Scotland back in those days. If you want to see more of that, visit to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Visit champcar.ws. Underway, green is out. Justin Wilson trying to charge to the front there in the CDW9. Red car, center of your screen. Wilson passes a couple of cars going down into one.
But this is the pass and the repass place, so we'll have an opportunity for Dornbos to give another shot. It's the exact same place that he got by Graham Rahal. This time, he gets by without pushing Justin Wilson aside. So he's now starting to figure it. Remember, a lot of these guys, including Dornbos, never been here before.
On board with Wilson. 5th on the restart. Picked up 4th from Dornbos there.
But guys, what we're talking about Justin Wilson, he is the tallest driver in the series, also one of the heavier drivers, and weight an issue for sure. They have been weighing in over 15 pounds over the minimum weight. They were able to take the starters off the car this week, taking off about 17 pounds, and that's what left them at the 14-pound over mark. But still, any weight is too much weight, and they've been definitely struggling this weekend. I talked to Justin this morning. He said he's feeling much better with the car.
And Cameron, when you're talking about taking off that starter, as we see Dornbos coming in, which I would assume to serve his penalty, is that they allowed them to take the starters off. In fact, it was mandatory that they take the starters off because some of them were working and some were not, even though they were identical parts, and they didn't think it would be fair for one guy to go to start his car, and it would. It'd be performance advantage. So Champ Car is going to put the onboard starters back on again someday, but with this 8-race stretch, they decided, you know what, let's take some weight off and let Justin have some more speed.
Big mover is Alex Tagliani there in the car number 8 from the R Sports team. Walmart on the rear wing. He has moved up, started 9th. He's taken advantage of all this and moved to 5th right now. So Alex Tagliani doing a terrific job here in the early going. 4th belongs to Justin Wilson. Tag got by Speedy Dan Clark there. Robert Dornbos, meantime, shuffling down through the lineup. He is back to 14th position, so Dornbos with a problem. Here comes Clark trying to close in behind the 8 car of Tagliani. Wilson there in front of Tag as they come toward turn 2. Sebastian Bourdais continues to lead. If you want more Champ Car race action, subscribe to Race Director. The series website is champcar.ws. 6 different camera angles, team radios, live telemetry, and more, all available from your home computer. Great day for racing here at Burke Lakefront Airport in Cleveland. Tagliani under attack there. Dan Clark in the Ozjet car number 4.
Now you're talking about Dornbos. What happens is when you get a drive-through penalty, they don't let you do it under yellow. So you can be racy when you get out the green. So he was racy to try and gain a position, but unfortunately we saw him do that drive-through. So that's why he cycled to the back of the order. It'd be nice if you could do a drive-through under a caution, sure, but it's not as big of a penalty.
Battling for position here. Tagliani and Clark fighting for 5th. Tag in the red and black car. You see the Walmart on the rear wing there. He has the spot. Clark right behind him. Clark's had a difficult weekend in that car. Now, he raced here a year ago for the team that is now called Minardi Team USA. Got into that incident on the very last lap with Mario Dominguez, if you recall, here 1 year ago. He spun several times at the exit of 1 and the entrance to 2 this weekend. Seems to have it nailed together right now.
He has been off the road a lot this weekend, but you know what? If you're off the road all through practice and qualifying, but you get 1 good lap, as Dan Clark did, and now you run well in the race, that's a-okay.
So Clark continues to cycle in 6th position early in the going in the Ticketmaster car number 4. Let's find out more about that team, Cameron.
Well, I'm here with Paul Stoddard, who's the owner for Dan Clark and Robert Dornbos, and we were talking just a second ago about the drive-through penalty. You seem a little disappointed by the call.
Yeah, you've got to respect the judgment, but I've seen the replay twice. I don't think he did anything wrong, and the pass he did on Rahal a little bit further on was one of the most sensational passing maneuvers I've ever seen, but his race is ruined.
Well, he says his race is ruined. We know anything can happen, but when he says sensational about Robert Dornbos, he has proved that time and time again. Definitely a great rookie in the series.
Wow, very interesting for Paul Stoddard. I have to say, I do agree with him to some degree. He was aggressive, he got in there, but Graham Rahal hung with it. In other words, Graham Rahal continued to fight for the position. So to get a drive-through penalty, that's a bit aggressive. Maybe later we'll try and ask that question of a race director, Tony Kottman.
We have the ability to speak to Tony during the course of the race, and we will try to do that later. Tagliani continues to run 5th. Clark in that striped red helmet is 6th. Your leader is Sebastian Bourdais. When we come back, Will Power in 2nd. We'll see if he can get closer to the championship leader. We're at Burke Lakefront Airport in Cleveland for the Champ Car World Series, the Grand Prix of Cleveland. Presented by LaSalle Bank with Jan Beekes, Bill Stevens, Cameron Steele, Iberick Benjamin, Sebastian Bourdais continuing to lead. Fastest in both sessions of qualifying, picked up a couple of bonus points. They're really trying for some redemption here in Cleveland. He won the first 2 times he came here in 2003 and 4. In 05 and 06, not nearly a field of dreams for Bourdais, but right now his lead 2 seconds over Will Power, one of the 2 Aussie Vineyards cars. There's Oriol Servia, car number 7. He runs in 7th for the Forsyth Index team. This battle between Justin Wilson and Dan Clark now, this is for 4th.
And Dan Clark is staying with it. Obviously, he gave up the spot when Justin Wilson was really aggressive. But Dan Clark's staying on it. The car is consistent, and that's what you need here at Cleveland. You don't want it changing on you.
Wilson's in that red and white CDW machine. His fellow countryman Clark in the black and red Ozjet Ticketmaster, car number 4. Good battle for position here in the early going. Power and Pagenaud, the 2 Australia teammates, are 2nd and 3rd in front of this fight. Wilson about 11.5 seconds behind the leader.
Great view off the back of the car. You see when another driver is closing in on you. And that's what you don't want to see when you look in the mirror, because Dan Clark is definitely in a position where he can strike here.
Coming to put lap number 20 on the board. Glad to have you with us for coverage on CBS Sports of the Champ Car World Series, the Champ Car Grand Prix of Cleveland, presented by LaSalle Bank. I'm Rick Benjamin. Jan Bikas is alongside. Sebastian Bourdais has led all the way so far, gunning for his 4th consecutive Champ Car World Series victory. He is the 3-time reigning series champ. 26 career wins already, 3 in a row this season in 4 tries. Bourdais is the dominator, at least thus far. This, though, is a great fight for 4th on the racetrack. Wilson, who was 2nd 2 weeks ago in Portland, runs 4th in that CDW car, the red machine. Right behind him is Dan Clark, the young Englishman, 2nd year in the series. In the Minardi car, it says Ticketmaster on the side bar. That's the red and black machine in the center of your screen.
And Rick, they are really hoping that lightning strikes twice on that number 9 car, Justin Wilson. 2 weeks ago in Portland, on Saturday night, they changed the engine in that car. We remember the great run that he had. They put a new bullet in that car last night. They're hoping that it works the same way it did 2 weeks ago.
And Wilson had a terrific day and led to just short of halfway, led, I believe, 48 laps at Portland. But Bourdais' team had a better pit strategy. They short-filled him, didn't fill the fuel tanks quite full in the middle stretch of the race. That vaulted Bourdais to the lead, and he was gone. He caught Wilson and passed him with a lighter car and headed to the house. Wilson did come home 2nd. Good battle here a little further back. That's Ryan Dial running 10th in that silver car, the 28. Behind Dial is Tristan Gomendi. One car lays a wheel off.
That was Gomendi.
In the pay-by-touch car. And here comes Tracy.
Oh, no. Let's see.
PT is 12th, making 11th.
Hey, he's only 2 for 3 now. Excellent pass, Paul. Now, of course, Tristan made it easy because he dropped the wheel off on the exit of turn 1. And all kidding aside, you know, Paul's trying hard. The good thing is he hasn't lost a lap. And Paul's got a shot at this thing. You know, he is on an earlier pit strategy. They replaced the front wing. Sure, he's way back, but there's still hope.
They've been fighting that car all weekend long. Many of our crew noticed over the course of the practice and qualifying sessions, he had that thing sideways more than he had it pointed straight, trying to squeeze every millisecond's worth of speed out of the 3 car that he could. He seemed perhaps to have figured something out. He is chasing Dial here for 10th. A quick reminder, grab your mobile device. In just a few moments, you'll be able to participate in this week's Mazda Virtual Pit Stop. You can text in your vote. You make the right call. And we will keep you posted on the results of our polling via the Mazda Virtual Pit Stop throughout the afternoon.
We watch Figgy as a teammate of Paul Tracy gets by Dial. I was going to talk about that Dial has had a great run for Pacific Coast Motorsports. His teammate is Alex Figgy, who dropped out right in the early going with gearbox trouble. So now the Pacific Coast is going to have to hold the banner because, you know what, for a brand new team, this has been a great weekend for them. They finally got in some testing, and they've been running strong.
They have at Road America in Wisconsin, where we'll be in August. That's the biggest racetrack in North America other than the new Miller Motorsports Park in Utah. 4 miles around there, high-speed place. They found something. Figgy qualified 13th, which was by far the most impressive qualifying effort of the season. And now Dial starting to use that knowledge to race the car better here as he works. He was 10th. Tracy got by him for 10th spot. Now there's Dornbos in the 14, the Ozjet car. He's going to make a move to the inside of Jan Halen. Oh!
Look out, Tristan Gomendi.
So Dornbos, who's been so impressive, a couple of podiums already.
But he's moving over to block. He already has had a drive-through penalty on something that was questionable, but in that particular incident, he came off of turn 1, saw that he was slow, and then drove to the right. That's a European driving style. That's what he's grown up doing. If you're slow off the corner, you pull over, you protect the inside. Champ Car doesn't like that. If you haven't been doing that on previous laps, ooh, he could get another slap on the wrist from Tony Cotman, race director.
Bourdais continues to lead. Power and Pagenaud, the two Team Australia mates. Let's get on board with Justin Wilson. Now, he's been passed by Dan Clark. We had shown you that battle earlier. Wilson unable to hold off Clark in the CDW 9. Wilson fighting hard, holding on at the moment in 5th, but speedy Dan Clark in car number 4. That's the Ticketmaster entry. He is up to 4th spot. Let's have another look at how that pass was made.
If you drop a wheel off of turn number 1, you're going to be a sitting duck. You're going to lose 5-10 miles an hour, then you pick up a little slipstream. Dan Clark, that's the way you get it done. Make sure you keep good positioning, get good drive off of turn number 4. Nicely done, Speedy Dan.
And he is on the Bridgestone Reds, the alternate Potenzas that are a little softer compound. Now, not every team has found them to be an advantage this weekend.
And that's why they're starting on them. I find that very interesting because most teams know the most yellow you're going to have is in the early stint of the race. And they feel that the red sidewall Bridgestones, which are supposed to be faster, but this weekend don't seem to have. Is he wide?
Yeah, he was a little offline coming into 1. Looks like he missed the entrance to the corner there, and that allowed Wilson to catch him back up.
I was going to say that they're running the red sidewall tires in a section or in a stint where they think they'll do less laps. I would expect that they're going to want to get these tires off as soon as they can. You'll see black sidewall Bridgestones for the rest of the day.
We've had several laps of caution early here, but we're on lap 25 right now. Now, after the morning warm-up, we had a chance to talk to Dan Clark about how that team is starting to come on.
The momentum we've been building since we got here at Vegas, because that's when the season started for me. Everybody else got to go testing beforehand, but I didn't. I had to sit in the back of the engineering timing stand and watch everybody else. So, you know, we were unlucky in the first 3 races, but Portland, we started coming back, and now we're on the top 6 for the start of the race. We were running top 3 in the warm-up there, so it's coming back together slowly but surely.
And you know, I talked a little bit more to Dan Clark today, guys, and I asked him if he thought that if he started getting podium finishes, winning races, and being a contender, some of the criticism that he's received from his driving style might abate a little bit. And he says, you know what, that's how it works out here. If you're winning and running well, it'll forgive a host of sins.
You're only as good as your last race.
That's right.
What have you done for me lately?
Watching Dan Clark, who runs 4th. We saw the gap in speed there between Clark's car in 4th and Bourdais, who's led all the way. Looks like some of the leaders will be making their first pit stops of the afternoon in a few moments. Jan, we started to talk a moment ago about how important fuel strategy is in the Champ Car World Series. 3 stops today for most of these teams.
But we have heard from Team Australia that they're going to follow everything that Sebastian Bourdais does if they can. He is fantastic on fuel mileage, so if they're going to kind of pace themselves and try and match Sebastian Bourdais' rate, because what's been happening, he doesn't necessarily run as fast as he can on the racetrack, but he keeps picking up all his positions on pit road because he needs less fuel.
Well, you guys, they were reporting on the radio to Sebastian Bourdais was that he can't keep the pace that he wants and hit the numbers he wants because of how hard Will Power is pushing. So something of interest, you're talking about saving fuel, and Sebastian hasn't been able to do it exactly the way he wants to.
That's interesting, because they'll give him a fuel number that he'll see right on top of the dash that he has to match. So I don't know if Sebastian can't quite meet the number. Maybe there is hope for somebody else.
For years in the Champ Car World Series, the drivers had a fuel rate knob that they could control. They could lean out the car, use less fuel. Can't do that anymore.
No, now it's all, the technique really comes down to lifting off the throttle right about here, just before you get to the braking zone. You just kind of breathe it a little bit. And there is a real special technique that the drivers use to go fast and save fuel. So a lot of times, if it sounds like a guy's riding around saving fuel, trust me, you're driving as hard or harder than you've ever driven. It's like save fuel and go fast. It's like, it's very tough to do.
Will Power won the season opener, his first career Champ Car World Series victory at Las Vegas back in April. Running second right now, just about 3 seconds behind the pace of Sebastian Bourdais, who may be stopping this time around to make it a 4-segment race. Power will go one more lap than the race leader. So Bourdais will stop first, which you rarely see in this series in the McDonald's car, Cameron.
Definitely a little bit strange, and Sebastian Bourdais saying he wasn't able to hit the exact numbers he wanted to. I asked his crew just a moment ago if there would be any changes to the car. They said there won't be any changes, but Sebastian had come on the radio saying that it is slippery out there, so we'll watch to see if they're playing coy maybe just a little bit. Send it back up to you guys.
Bridgestone Blacks, the little bit harder tires, going on for the second stint for Bourdais, the championship leader who's won 3 races in a row this season. Now Wilson in the CDW9. He was 5th behind Dan Clark. He brings that car to the attention of the R Sports team.
The way that you plug in this fueling, that was a fantastic view of how you make a quick pit stop. The faster you can engage the fuel, that takes the longest. 9.5 seconds if you want to fill it completely. Much longer than it takes to do the tires.
And I can tell you guys, they were really hustling down here. One of the crew members pulling the gun back over the wall, took a digger and hit the dirt, and they were definitely disappointed that Robert Dornbos got out in front of them.
Here comes Will Power heading to the Aussie Vineyards pit stall in the 5.
Cut. Break.
Brendan Cleve changing.
Just push the pop when you get out.
Bill Stevens.
Primaries came off, reds went on. His teammate Pagenaud just pitted just a few moments ago. Both cars having excellent pit stops.
So Power now on the Bridgestone alternate potentials. Those red sidewall tires, a little bit softer, a little more grip, should be a little faster, at least for a few laps. Power cycling to the lead by running 1 extra lap. CBS Sports coverage of the Grand Prix of Cleveland will continue after this message and a word from your local station. Welcome back live to Burke Lakefront Airport in Cleveland, Ohio. Champ Car World Series, the Champ Car Grand Prix of Cleveland. Race leader Graham Rahal, 18 years of age. He's just about a local boy here. His dad, Bob, won the inaugural Cleveland Grand Prix. It was 25 years ago. This is the 26th running of the race, and Rahal, a new high school graduate, has used fuel strategy. He and Paul Tracy have come to the front of the field, Jan.
They've come to the front of the field, but they don't have enough of a gap. They're on a different strategy, but when they pit, they'll probably drop back. You know, when they're in clear road, they'll need to pull like a 20 or 30 second gap to be able to get onto pit road, fuel, and back out where they are. So at the moment, it looks good. You have clear air. You're leading your race here at home, but unfortunately, that strategy, when you have to pit, will put you back.
But a tip of the hat, really, to Paul Tracy, who'd been off twice. He's taken 2 nose cones off that race car already. They fixed it twice, and he's worked his way back up through the field now, and using that, they topped him off on fuel with one of those early stops.
But what's worth noting as we ride with Will Power is ahead of Sebastian Bourdais after that exchange of pit stops. So Will Power and Bourdais, and that's exactly what we suspected. If you can go a lap longer, see, Team Australia has learned from Newman Haas Lanigan. They said the reason we got beat in Portland, we didn't go as far on that first stint. We got beat in the pits. So what do? They go farther on the first stint, and they say, take that, Sebastian Bourdais. We learned from you. And now we have not a leader on the racetrack, but certainly a leader in pit sequence.
Tristan Gomedy, the pay-by-touch PKV car, Bill Stevens, he's on pit road.
And you know what, guys? They have a split fuel strategy down here for Neil Johnny and Tristan Gomedy. Gomedy stayed out a little bit longer than Johnny. He's coming in now to top off the fuel, and they're going to try to play one strategy against another today. Right now, Gomedy was in 6th before he came in.
So the pay-by-touch team gets him serviced and back on the racetrack. Here's Sebastian Bourdais, 3 times a winner this season, the 3-time defending series champ. He's won here twice, and now sitting in 4th position. He's about 2 seconds behind Will Power because of the pit stop strategy. Earlier, we talked to Sebastian about the weekend and about the very busy weekend. No, he ran at Le Mans last week and came in 2nd there.
Yeah, it's been actually a little bit more than a week. It really started off for pre-qualifying, and then went to Portland and came back for Le Mans. After Le Mans, straight to Elkhart Lake for a test in Tuesday, and then we're here this weekend in Cleveland. So it's pretty hectic, but that's the way I like it.
All right, well, Graham Rahal, who has just led his first ever laps in Champ Car, you see him taking a turn out of the front wing. Said he wanted a little bit of adjustment to the car, and he got it. Other than that, John Cesanica says he is very happy with the way the car is performing.
And Cameron, very interesting that they have stayed on the red sidewall Bridgestones. You can see clearly there, although that rear tire,
yeah,
I hope they don't have it.
I think they have a mismatched set.
Well, it could have been a tire. Oh, that's interesting. They have reds on the front and blacks on the rear.
You can't do that.
Which I thought you weren't allowed to do.
We'll have to check on that.
Well, you don't get credit You don't get credit for running reds doing that, but I don't know that you're actually prohibited from doing it in the race. In other words, they say you must run the reds during the race, but a half a set doesn't count. Well, he's already run the reds. Very interesting strategy.
We will check on that, find out if that was on purpose. Bill Stevens.
Yet another pit stop for Paul Tracy. They are changing the tires once again, topping off the fuel. However, this time they're not having to change the bodywork on the car.
Yeah, Tracy's kept it on the road in this stint. Good move for the former series champ. Pete's in that Forsyth Index car number 3. Black helmet now as he comes back up to speed. Will Power is the leader. Bourdais moves to second. Time now for the Mazda virtual pit stop where you try to make the right call. Here's our question for today. Use your mobile device and vote by text. Will be the next first-year driver to score their first Champ Car World Series win. Simone Pagenaud, Robert Dornbos, or young Graham Rahal. Vote by text to 55333. And we've got trouble. Jan Halen and Tristan Gomendy have gotten together. Halen in that black 34 car, Gomendy in the pay-by-touch 22. Heavy damage to both cars, full course yellow. And we are under caution at Cleveland on lap 36.
Going through the turn 10.
Just trying to listen to the radio transmissions to see if we have any.
An incident, exit of turn 10. Safety's with them.
And that is race control.
2234. 2234 at the exit of 10.
Wow, they got together in the middle of the final corner. Sometimes you'll see drivers run off of there.
So Gomendy, side pod gets ripped off of Halen's black car. Oh, Gomendy shortcut the grass.
Well, what happened was, and then it, oh, youch. He came in, the car stepped out, what we call a tank slapper. He goes across the grass, and then the car whips back the other way and just spears Jan Halen, who, by the way, for his first time back for the season, that was pretty impressive. He's had an impressive weekend. Unfortunately, boy, that was a heavy spear there.
Halen driving for the Conquest team. Eric Bachelard's squad. Here's another look coming into the last couple of corners.
Let's roll it through here and then stop it right here. Okay, at this point, well, we can roll it just a little bit farther as he gets clear of the fence. But here's the problem, is that the trajectory is supposed to be like this, but then the car whips like this on what we call a tank slapper. It just bites at the back. You can't correct quick enough. And kablamo, Jan Halen probably thought for a moment, hey, I just got myself a position, and then blammo into the side. But these cars are designed with very strong safety structures. Hopefully everybody's A-okay.
Well, the Homatro safety team on the scene to help both drivers get safely out of those two chassis, but Gomendy got on the grass coming off that final corner, and that's what's touched that all off, Bill.
Yeah, down here with two very interested witnesses to what just happened to Tristan Gomendy, first team owner, and a gentleman who you know very well down here, Kevin Kalkoven. Your view of what just happened, Kevin?
Well, to be honest, I really don't know, because I'm just reviewing it on television. It looks like Tristan came in a little bit fast. I just don't know.
Jimmy, from your angle, did Tristan make a rookie mistake?
Well, I mean, he was pressured from behind. We were racing for position, and he just come out of the pits. The tires weren't up to full temperature and pressure yet. And I know he was pushing to, stay in front. So, those things are going to happen. But he's been doing a good job. And, I think on the upside, the pay-by-touch PKV car was voted the prettiest car out here, at least before the start of the race.
At least before. Jimmy Vasser spent about 45 minutes in in-depth conversation with Tristan, teaching him this racetrack, and as Tristan said, it was just invaluable.
Now Tristan Gomendy, who's been impressive in the early going this season, his day short here as he goes off the racetrack. All right, here's your top 5. We'll be back in Cleveland. Back in Cleveland, Burke Lakefront Airport on CBS Sports coverage of the Champ Car World Series. The Champ Car Grand Prix of Cleveland presented by LaSalle Bank. Now, Will Power has gotten the lead over Sebastian Bourdais thanks to some sharp pit strategy. Simone Pagenaud, Power's teammate, who started on the front row, sits in 3rd position here. Packed house as always when we come to Burke Lakefront Airport. Huge crowds all weekend. Great to see this great event now in its 26th year. We're glad to be a part of it. Glad to have you with us. Graham Rahal using some interesting strategy. He'll be 6th on the restart. We were talking about tire choice. It looked like he had a mixed set of Bridgestones. Let's find out more. Let's go to Pit Road. Cameron.
It definitely looked like he had a mixed set of Bridgestones, and you reported it on TV. John Kazanikis, who's on the radio with Graham, he looked around and said, what? And they went checking around, but that wasn't the case, was it?
No, it wasn't. I mean, you kind of scared us here a little bit. that we had reds on at the beginning of the race, and we got in that little altercation with Dornbos, and PT ran into us, and it rubbed the red right off the tires. So that's why it looks like we have 3 reds and 1 black on there at the moment.
So a little bit of panic ensuing down here. Just so you know, the rules state you have to run a complete set of either red or black.
So you were right on the money there. I knew you had to run a complete set to get credit. Now, wouldn't you say that's a black?
Sure looked like it at speed,
okay,
but you can see the little hint of pink there.
That's a rubbed off black.
Now, usually we say he white walls a tire in an incident like that, but I guess blackwalled was the case in this particular instance. So Rahaal's okay, and he'll restart in 6th. His dad, Bobby, won the first race here in 1982. What a home run it would be for the family and the young driver if he was able to get that car to victory lane here today. And 55 minutes of racing to go. So we've got time for about 50 or so laps of racing. And Champ Car's race director, Vice President of Operations, is Tony Kottman, and he is able to join us on the headset from race control. Tony, thanks for taking a moment. We saw it looked like there was a black tire on the right rear of Rahaal's car. Now we know the red was scraped off the car. Can you run a mixed set of tires?
No, you can't at all, but that was really just to keep you guys on your toes.
Hey, Tony, we wanted to ask you about the drive-through penalty for Robert Dornbos. Talk us through how you made that decision with he. I assume that was with Graham Rahal.
Yeah, the incident he got penalised for was for the Rahal blocking on the front straight. And it's pretty simple. Would you have been over there if the car behind wasn't trying to pass? And my answer is absolutely not.
Okay, so it had nothing to do with that pass that took place in turn number 3. It happened somewhere else?
It was to do with the pass that took place into turn 1 with Graham.
Aha. All right, thank you, Tony.
You're welcome.
All right, so Tony Kottman, the Champ Car head referee, joining us from race control. Hey, you can take CBS Sports Line with you wherever you go, and as always, it is free. You can get live scores, breaking news, manage your fantasy team too. Text SCORE to 99888. More information at mobile at cbssportsline.com.
Well, that answers that question that Paul Stoddard, that we agree with Paul Stoddard. That was, in Tony Kottman's opinion, a great pass in turn number 3. He got penalized for blocking somewhere else.
All right, Cameron Steele.
I'm here with Joe Barbieri, and when the tire scuttlebutt went down there for a second, I turned around, you were right there in Rahaal's pit. Were you a little bit worried?
Well, we saw it on the screen ourselves, you know, so we went down to check it out, and of course we have our Bridgestone technician down there, and he confirmed the fact it was indeed a full set of reds, because the rules state you cannot run either some reds and some blacks. So he confirmed the fact all 4 were red. That sidewall that we put on there was just rubbed off in the accident earlier in the day.
So it's just paint put on there, and good news there from the Bridgestone guys. They're happy also with the way the tires are wearing there today. Let's go over to Bill Stevens.
All right, Cameron, I'm with Bruno Junqueira of Dale Point Racing. Bruno, we talked yesterday about what a disheartening season it's been. Just when it looks like there's going to be a breakthrough weekend, things go in reverse. Things didn't work out again for you today.
Yeah, I mean, we had a tough weekend, but today, this warm-up, the car was much better. I was 6th fastest, and I did a really good start, and I passed after the start. I passed a couple of guys. I was running 9th, and unfortunately, Tracy, as usual, do a chrome home with somebody, and this time it was myself and took me out of the race. Pretty shame because I really needed the points. I was 6th in the championship. I want to finish top 5, but let's recover next weekend.
See you then. Now the start of a very busy stretch for us and for all the drivers and teams in the Champ Car World Series next week to San Jovite, Mont-Tremblant in Canada. On the go, you can follow all the exciting Champ Car action with Champ Car Mobile. ChampCar.ws is the series website. Download live leaderboards, wallpapers, ringtones to your mobile phone. Standard data rates do apply at ChampCar.ws. With Jan Beekes, I'm Rick Benjamin. Field getting set for a restart here. 52 minutes to go in this one. 40 laps are on the board. Race leader is Will Power there in that green and yellow Aussie Vineyards car. Power won the season opener. Bourdais right behind him, and they're on a much different fuel strategy from the drivers immediately behind.
Interesting that, of course, they have been stretching their fuel in the first stint. They're also on different tire strategies. So you have Will Power on the red sidewall. You have Sebastian Bourdais on the black. So that is what Champ Car wanted. They wanted people to be pitting at different times. They wanted them to be on different tires because with a spec series where everyone has the same engine in the same car, you want it mixed up a little bit. You want to see some movement. You want to see some passing. We'll see how it shakes out.
Everybody clean, single file. The guy I'm going to keep my eye on is Paul Tracy. We got a glimpse of him there. 7th on the restart. Here's Justin Wilson. He is 5th on the restart and chasing Speedy Dan Clark there in that black and red car. You saw the Muirmans, the red helmet. That's Wilson trailing Clark. Wilson in the 9, the CDW machine. Clark to the left of your screen in that black and red car number 4. You see Ozjet on the rear wing. Now Wilson got passed by Clark earlier. Looks like he might have something for
Watch
Speedy
this.
Dan
He's
here.
Got to run.
Power to pass.
He didn't use the power to pass at that juncture, but boy, that would have been a spot you would think about it, because he got a great run off of turn number 8.
Wilson on the button again. Now, we're not sure yet if he is on the power to pass button. Not at the moment he's not. Simone Pagenaud was using it there a moment ago. And to the inside, there's Alex Tagliani, Paul Tracy. They're side by side
and
for
see
7th.
See the flashing light on the back? That is the power to pass. So Alex Tagliani went on the push not to be passed, as the drivers call it. But Paul Tracy hit his and came right back.
PT in that 3 car. That's the white and blue Index machine on the right of your screen. Off twice in the early laps. 2 new nose cones have been put on that car already, and PT is flying. He's won here before, of course. And we'll see if he can get it done today. Right behind him, Alex Tagliani, fellow Canadian native, and car number 8 for the R Sports team. That's the Steelback entry. Walmart on the rear wing as well. Good to have you with us for the Champ Car World Series Grand Prix of Cleveland. I'm Rick Benjamin. Jan Beekes is alongside. Bill Stevens, Cameron Steele on pit road. We're at Burke Lakefront Airport. 5th race of the 2007 Champ Car World Series season. Sebastian Bourdais is the points leader. Will Power second. They run 2-1 right now. Power's out front, going for his 2nd win of the year. Tracy, the former series champion, we're watching he and Tagliani battle back there for 7th. Tracy just wants to get in the hunt here today. A couple of cars putting wheels off into the dust on that run off of turn 1. Cameron, let's get an update from pit road.
Well, one driver that definitely put a couple wheels off was Tristan Gomedy. And Tristan, we know you had problems with your back in Portland. Your knee's been hurting. Is fatigue any part of what happened out there? And what happened?
No problem. It wasn't a physical problem. It's just the car was quite difficult to control in the beginning of the stint with the new stickers. And I managed the fuel, and I lose a little bit the rear at the entry of the chicane, and I prefer to cross the chicane and don't take the risk. And when I come back on the track, Jan Helen crashed me. It's not his fault, so it's like that. It's really a pity for the Pay Touch car, for sure, but it's going to be better next week, for sure.
Right on there you have from Tristan Gomedy, an interesting look at what happened out on the track.
Watching race leader Will Power on those Bridgestone red sidewall Potenzas, the softer tires. 48 minutes of racing to go, 45 laps complete. We should have about a 90-lap run if we go green the rest of the way, Jan, but that hasn't been the story here so far.
And you heard Tristan, you're correct. You heard Tristan talk about that I was struggling on the stickers. Of course, that is brand new tires. They call them that because they leave the stickers on a lot of times, and that can really catch a driver out. This particular series doesn't have tire warmers as some other series do, and you really earn your money when you leave the pits and you're on cold tires.
There's Bourdais and the McDonald's machine. The Newman Haas Lanigan team scored the 100th victory for that great race team 2 weeks ago when we were at Portland. Beautiful day in Cleveland for racing. When we come back, we'll see if Simone Pagenaud can vault himself up front. We welcome you back to Burke Lakefront Airport, the Champ Car World Series Grand Prix of Cleveland, 26th renewal of this great event. 2 cars running up front, the green and yellow machine, Australian Will Power, second in the championship. Right behind him, the champion, Sebastian Bourdais. Now, left of your screen, if you're not familiar with Champ Car, Cosworth power to pass, 50 additional horsepower.
You have 60 seconds of use. The maximum you can use it for each squirt when you press the button on the steering wheel is 10 seconds. So looking down through, anytime you lift off the throttle, it disengages. So you can see for Will Power, Sebastian Bourdais, they're saving this. They're saving as much as they can. Oriole Survey, you can see also saving as much as they can. There are times you want to use it 50 extra horsepower for a brief moment to try and make a pass, but ultimately you want to save it for a duel for the finish.
Oriole Survey down there has quite a bit left in the bank as well, running in 9th position. Now here's the gap between the top 2 cars, 7/10 of a second last time by. Getting close perhaps to a second round of pit stops. Both Power and Bourdais have only made 1 stop, but remember, Power went 1 additional lap. Fuel strategy so critical in this kind of racing. If he can do it this time, that would be a huge advantage on the backside.
If he did 1 more lap in stint number 1, one would assume that that would be 2 more laps, therefore, if he runs the same distance than Bourdais next time. That is a big advantage because when someone peels onto pit road, the car is heavier when it's filled up with fuel. You're out there by yourself running light. Simone Pagenaud now in the other Aussie Vineyards machine. Great run for him as a rookie.
Pagenaud in 3rd, qualified 2nd. Last year's Champ Car World Series Atlantic Series championship. Well, Simone Pagenaud came here this week with a lot of his friends and family. We talked to him about it.
Yeah, it's very special to have my parents here, my best friend, some very good sponsor from Belgium. So it's very enjoyable to seeing them here and see how much support they give me. So it's just really enjoyable. I wish I would have a good race as I had last year in Atlantic when I did the pole and finished second. So we look forward for this weekend.
And the other thing that his friends and his sponsors have told him recently, they say, Simone, we can't see you on TV, so he's repainted his helmet. If you've seen him in previous races, he had sort of it matched the car. It was green and gold, as they call the Australian colors, but next time we see him, it has bright red. It's actually Ducati red. It's as bright as you can get on the red on the top of Simone Pagenaud's helmet, so that his friends and family back in France, and when they come here to Cleveland, can see him.
Very personable young man, really made a lot of friends and fans last year when he won the Champ Car Atlantic Championship, and now good run here in the 5th race of his Champ Car World Series career. Justin Wilson, the CDW 9 car, second 2 weeks ago in Portland, continues to run 5th. Speedy Dan Clark there in the Ticketmaster 4, the black and red machine, runs in 4th. Good run for him, Cameron Steele.
Definitely a good run, and I'm here with Vince Kramer, and you guys have a car that can compete today.
Yeah, Dan's driving a good race. The car's pretty fast out there right now.
I know you guys are thinking about coming in for the pits. Is strategy playing your way?
Strategy's playing our way. We're talking about what we're going to do, how much we're going to put in it, and trying to figure out when the end of the race is going to be.
Want to share some of that with us?
I think I'll keep that under my hat.
Pretty typical down here in the pits, trying to keep it top secret what's going to happen.
And of course, what's new, Cameron, as we know, is these are timed races. When he says, I got to figure out how much racing is left, that's new for the Champ Car Series this year. As you have yellows and as the race pace changes, so does the length of the race lap-wise. It never changes time-wise, changes lap-wise. That makes a big difference on fuel.
Sebastian Bourdais on the charge, 37 thousandths of a second difference between he and Power. Last time around, really cutting into that lead now. Hey, you can join Champ Car and its many sponsors, support the hole-in-the-wall camps, the Lap Leader program. Make a donation for every lap led by your favorite driver. Series website is champcar.ws. Log on, scroll down, make your pledge in support of the hole-in-the-wall camps.
Now keep an eye on Sebastian and the gap between he and Simone Pagenaud. Look at that. Simone Pagenaud has just done the fastest lap of the race, and visibly, he wasn't, we were talking about a moment ago, he wasn't in the shot. So Simone Pagenaud and the other Team Australia car is on it, and he's on blacks, Power's on reds. Very interesting split strategy for the team.
And these top 3 cars all stopped on the same lap, which was lap 28. Now, we had said this would be a 3-stop race, 4 segments, and you can go about 27 laps per segment. But with the number of caution laps we've had so far, that could change a lot as we get down to the end here.
It changed for segment number 1, but there's been less cautions here. Again, visibly, Simone Pagenaud is going to come put some heat on the man who opened the door for him here in Champ Car, Sebastian Bourdais. This is going to get good fast.
And you guys are talking about Simone Pagenaud, and something I definitely think we should point out is since the beginning of the season, he's gotten himself on a much better and more stringent training regimen, and he's been eating differently. He's been training quite a bit more, 2 hours a day. He says he is a much better driver in the car, especially as the race gets later. He doesn't get tired, does not feel fatigued. He thinks he's more ready to go than he ever has been.
Interesting, we have kind of have an Aussie Vineyard sandwich here with
McDonald's in the middle.
Yeah, with one beef patty in the middle here. Fine, this is going to be this is great. This is what we've been waiting for this year, because we had hoped, I'm saying as a fan that wants to see somebody give Sebastian a run for his money, is that Team Australia has now got him cornered. They've got one in front on reds, they got one behind on blacks, and they're on a slightly different pit strategy, and that Power saved a lot of fuel. This is going to be really interesting to see how it shakes out.
55 laps on the board, about 35 laps to go if we stay green all the way. One of the drivers involved in that tangle a few moments ago, standing by with Bill Stevens.
Yeah, with Tristan Gomendy, a little bit of a 2-car deal, and Jan Halen, you didn't even know it was coming until it got there.
No, it was just one of those things, you know. Christian made a mistake. He went off into the chicane, and I would just happen to be there, you know, wrong place at the wrong time.
And you thought you had a pretty good strategy for today.
Yeah, I think the team did a really good job. As we were starting from the back, we went off sequence on the first yellow. So I think we were doing really well. Picked up a couple of places after that first pit stop. So, you know, it's a shame. Team did a great job.
See you next week.
Now, there's one thing, Bill, that Jan Halen knows, that Tristan Goldman, he just found out, and that there's a manhole cover in between that chicane, that if you decide to shortcut that chicane, it's not all grass. There's a manhole cover that'll kick you up, and that will change the trajectory, and I guarantee you that's what caught out Tristan Goldman.
Sebastian Bourdais running second right now. He is 8/10 behind Will Power last time by. He had closed it up to less than 2/10 a few laps ago. Now Power starting to stretch it out just a little bit. Now we're hearing that Dan Clark, Justin Wilson, Alex Tagliani should be pitting in just a couple of more laps, and that sets up a situation, Jan, where that could get them home if we have a few more caution laps. We're probably another 32, 33 laps of racing if we stay green all the way.
That's why we heard Vince Kramer saying we're trying to calculate what we can do here. But they do have computer programs that calculate how many laps there will be. And we know they can go 26, or if you stretch it, 27 laps. And Pagenaud, the first one to break off.
Simone Pagenaud, who last pitted on lap 28. He'll be the first of these three leaders to come to pit road. So he's not getting as good fuel mileage as either Power or Bourdais, it appears. Bill Stevens, Pagenaud headed your way.
And the Team Australia group has got the reds ready to go on the car, the alternate tires, and we talked about it earlier. Not everybody this weekend has been happy with the performance of the red tires. They preferred the primaries, but on they go, full load of methanol. And no, just the slightest delay at the end.
And it gets very nerve-wracking when you start to creep a little bit. These clutches sometimes creep. When you're a fueler, that's a scary moment.
All right, Pagenaud heading toward turn one. Alex Tagliani headed to pit road too, Cameron.
Yes, and on a previous pit stop, they had a little bit of problem with the fueler getting engaged. Now he's away. I talked to Paul Gentilozzi. He said the car is good. They need about 5 or 6 laps of caution to be able to go all the way to answer your question.
Thank you, Cameron. That's just what Rick was figuring. Good math there. And that most likely there's going to be a splash and go.
Sebastian Bourdais, championship leader, the McDonald's #1, the Newman Haas Lanigan team. He'll make his stop now here on lap number 57.
And you guys, Sebastian coming in, he will have an adjustment to the wing. They're saying he's been fighting a push condition in the car. Other than that, you can see there's the adjustment. Kenny Seawick said that everything else is great with the car. You can see him getting all the...
Look out, don't go. Oh, I was going to say, wait for a moment as Justin Wilson comes in.
CDW team goes to work, fuel going in.
He's going for blacks, yeah. When you were looking over the front of Sebastian Bourdais, we could see Justin Wilson coming. Thankfully, Newman Haas Lanigan, in that particular case, it would be Kenny Seawick on the radio. They had to hold up Sebastian just a little bit. Otherwise, that could have been difficult. Look at the run you can get when you come out of the pits if you time it right. And here comes Power.
Will Power gives up the lead. He'll bring the Aussie Vineyards car down in front of Bill Stevens.
I just asked team owner Derek Walker, how is the car? He said thumbs up, so there won't be any changes except for the fact they're going from the alternates over to the Blackwall tires, opposite from what Pagenaud just did. They'll fill this car with fuel, and they're very pleased so far with Will Power's performance.
8.8 seconds on the clock for Will Power on pit road. On those new Bridgestones, here comes Graham Rahal, Cameron.
Graham has tons of family in town this weekend, obviously living just about 2 hours away from here. Would really love to get his first win here, as his dad did. They said no change in the car. They just want to make sure they get a full fuel fill. And it looks like they've done just that, and he's away.
Rahal was third when he came to pit road in the Metazone car #2, Bourdais' teammate on the Newman Haas Lanigan squad. CBS Sports coverage of the Grand Prix of Cleveland will continue after this message and a word from your local CBS stations. And if you want more Champ Car race action, subscribe to Race Director. ChampCar.ws is the official series website. You'll get 6 different camera angles, team radios, live telemetry, and more, all available on your home computer. Alongside Jan Beekes, I'm Rick Benjamin, Cameron Steele, and Bill Stevens for us on pit road. And guess who is out front? Paul Tracy, who's won this race a couple of times. He's led nearly 200 laps here, most among the active drivers, the 03 Series champ. 2 wrecks early on. He's on his 3rd nose of the day on the race car. And he could come up smelling like a rose here if things fall in a certain way for him.
The way that he would be in a great catbird seat would be if he most likely has to only make one more stop, and those people that we just saw pit, which would be Power, Bourdais, Pagenaud, if that group can't make it to the end, it goes totally in the direction of Paul Tracy because he's on a later sequence. If If they can make it to the end, he'll drop back and probably won't hit the podium. So it all comes down to the fact if those last round of stops, if they can't make it, Paul's smelling like a rose, just like you said.
He's 15 seconds to the good on the field, on the track now. Does he save fuel, or does he have the foot, does he have the hammer down on that thing?
It all depends on if it's calculating whether you have enough fuel. Looking up at the top there, this is what all the teams are keeping an eye on, is this number right up here. And at the same time, they're calculating, okay, with that much time left, how many laps and how much fuel do I need?
Well, the calculators are working overtime for Oriol Servia, Neil Johnny, Simone Pagenaud, and Robert Dornbos. This is the battle we're watching. 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. These cars are nose to tail. Bill Stevens.
Paul Tracy into the pits one more time. He is complaining the car is understeering, but they're not going to make a change to the car. A set of scuff primary tires on there, and for what seems like the 10th time today, he's filling his car with fuel again.
62 laps complete for PT. We should have about 25 more laps of green. Should be able to get home from here, Jan. You're not saying anything. You're shaking your head.
Oh, I'm thinking.
Okay.
That if he gets home from here, the only way it helps him is if those we saw just pit can't.
Right.
If for some reason they have to make a splash and go, then all of a sudden he will vault to the front.
Back up onto the racetrack, and the Forsyth Index car number 3, the 03 Series champion. Now resides in Las Vegas, gets to go home to Toronto in a couple of weeks. Champ Car World Series moves next week to Saint-Jovite, Mont-Tremblant, Canada, up north of Montreal. Following week to Toronto. The Steelback Grand Prix. Graham Rahal, car number 2, the Metazone entry. Back in 9th right now. All those early cautions, you've got several of the contenders on much different pit stop strategy, including Rahal, who's led laps here today. Really pushing that Newman Oslanigan entry. Rahal stopped on lap number 58. 64 complete for the leader, Power. Now here's Johnny in the Red Bull car trying to make a move on Servia there in turn 1. Servia in the other Forsyth Index car. That's the white car with the blue striping down the nose. Johnny's Red Bull entry, dark blue with the yellow nose. And there's Pagenaud, the Aussie Vineyards 15. That's the green car with the gold. Ryan Dial stopping the other Pacific Coast Motorsports entry. Behind those cars, you've got Speedy Dan Clark, you've got Justin Wilson, Alex Tagliani, Ryan Dial. Last car running, all 12 cars still in competition. All on the same lap, so no lap traffic to work through. Bill Stevens, 28.5 minutes of racing to go. The Forsyth crew on the computers, I'm sure.
Everybody down here, Rick, has got a pocket calculator out, all helping each other. And as far as Neil Mickelwright is concerned, it's a crapshoot for Oriol Servia whether or not he can go the distance. He says Tracy definitely needs more fuel to make it to the finish.
Okay, well, that answers the question. Because I was trying to think, is their fastest time?
Oh, trouble. Something's come off one of the race cars. Looks as though the side pods come off Servia's car and blew up in the air. He'll stay on the gas. Now, that's a piece of bodywork they should be able to replace, but that causes debris, I would think, on the racetrack on the front stretch. We stay green for now, but there's the bodywork. Not in the racing groove. We'll see what Champ Car decides to do.
I would be surprised. I don't think they'll go for full course yellow. That would be, if you hit that, I mean, it's made to crush. So it's not a structural part of the car. It's an aerodynamic part of the car. It'll slow Servia down, but he can keep running without it.
There you see the radiator and the turbo. One more look as Servia comes off the final corner heading to 1 here.
Just breaks loose. Great reactions by the guys behind. You can see how quick Johnny reacted to that. But
and here comes Servia and Johnny. So Servia will pit. They will try to, well, we'll see. They're not bringing a piece of bodywork around, Bill.
No, as a matter of fact, Rick, you're right. Just looks like they're going to go with rubber and fuel, and they're going to leave the car basically in the same configuration. This could be the latest trend at Champ Car. Uh-oh. Left rear of the car now. There's a problem.
And we saw some flames licking out there.
It seems as though it's freewheeling, guys. The engine's coming up, but the car, now they have it going.
That little flame that you see at the back should blow out as he gets up to speed. That is if a piece of bodywork gets on the exhaust.
Meantime action, looks like one of the Minardis has spun down into the grass. Is that Speedy Dan? Let's get a look and see which car it is, and it is. Maybe not surprisingly. Speedy Dan Clark has spent a lot of time in the grass here this weekend, and the OzJet Ticketmaster 4 car comes to a stop off track, and he's going to need some help. Bourdais is in trouble. Sebastian Bourdais, problems with the McDonald's car. Bourdais off the racetrack.
Wow, the complexion of the race and the championship all in a couple of laps.
Will Power, the leader, second in the championship. Bourdais and the Newman Haas-Lanigan 1 car. The McDonald's machine has come to a stop. I don't see the visor up. There it is. He, too, is going to need help. We'll see if he'll be able to restart. Power, Pagenaud, and Tracy are now the top 3. We'll sort it out in a moment. We are back at Burke Lakefront Airport in Cleveland on CBS Sports. The Champ Car World Series, 5th round of the 2007 season. And the championship leader going for 4 consecutive victories, Sebastian Bourdais. The McDonald's car just lost fire. He was dead stick on the racetrack. They towed him to try to restart the car, and it stalled again. And now they will throw the rope back to Bourdais and bring him back to pit road. And the Newman Haas-Lanigan team will go to work to try to find out what happened to the McDonald's car and if there's anything they can do about it here before the checkered flag falls in 22.5 minutes. And here comes Bourdais behind the Holmatro safety crew truck onto pit road. Not a familiar place at all for the 3-time series champion. Full course yellow. Cameron Steele, what's the story down there?
Well, they're saying that the car lost oil pressure and it automatically shuts down when that happens. I'll try to get a word from Craig Hampson here. Craig, he's trying to get it all together right now. A little bit of panic, as you know, the points leader. They're going to try to get the car in here and see if they can possibly get it refired.
Here comes Bourdais to a stop. Visor up, no power. And they will have to take the engine cover off.
That is a case where if it's a faulty sensor and he really has oil pressure, it can be fixed. If there is no oil pressure, there's a reason why it shuts it down. There's no way it's going to run.
And they will push the 1 car off to the side. Now, Bourdais hasn't made a move to get out of the car as yet. Still trying to get the engine cover off behind the roll hoop there.
And you guys, it can also let you know that they did have a problem with the turbo this morning. They changed the wastegate. They thought there was some problems that they thought they did have them solved.
All right, Sebastian Bourdais stays in the race car. Will Power will be the restart leader. Pagenaud, Tracy, Rahal, and Wilson will be the top 5. Earlier today, the Champ Car Atlantic Championship in action here at Burke Lakefront Airport. It was a great standing start for the 26-car field. Rafael Matos, who's won 3 races in 5 starts coming in, was on pole, and he grabbed the lead heading down into turn number 1. His teammate James Hinchcliffe in the other Sierra car got shuffled back early, and there was trouble early. Matos all alone out in front for most of the day, but there would be some problems on the racetrack. This is a bad flip involving young Adrian Herberts in car 45. He and Matt Lee got together. Herberts, all reports are, is okay. The car very, very strong, flipping and landing back on its wheels. Rafael Matos with a challenge from J.R. Hildebrand in the Newman Walks 36 there, but Matos led virtually flag to flag. Hildebrand was closing on him at the end. Matos wins his 4th Champ Car Atlantic Championship round in 6 starts. The Champ Car Atlantic Championship. Cooper Tires presents that championship. The cars powered by Mazda. Matos the winner earlier today here in Cleveland. The Champ Car World Series meantime, 20 minutes of racing to go. Race leader Will Power decides to come to pit road for what should be his final stop of the day, Cameron Steele.
It should definitely be his final stop. Looking over the car, talking to the team, said there will be no change in the car, just get the fuel in there and get away. Remember, Alex Tagliani said he only needed a few laps of caution to possibly make it to the end. We'll have to watch and see if he comes into pit.
Quick splash of fuel, Power is back underway. This vaults Tracy to the lead. Now, we had started to talk earlier. They got Dan Clark's car onto pit road, by the way. He had spun initially just before we saw Bourdais in trouble. Clark back. They fueled him and refired him as well. We'll see if this may cash in today for Paul Tracy when we come back in Cleveland. Should be about 17 laps to settle things here at the Champ Car Grand Prix of Cleveland, our Mazda virtual pit stop where you make the right call. Our question today, which of these 3 first-year drivers will be the first to win a Champ Car World Series round? Robert Dornbos, one of the contenders there, along with Graham Rahal. And you were able to use your mobile phone to text, each vote costing 50 cents. Here's the way it stacks up. Dornbos the favorite, then Rahal, then Pagenaud. We thank you for casting your vote in the Mazda virtual pit stop here today. Green is back in the air, 16.5 minutes of racing. Tracy and Rahal, the top 2. Dornbos has made himself get to 3rd with smart driving and good fuel strategy. Then you've got Neil Johnny and Will Power. And yeah, the question on everybody's mind is, can you go all the way? Bill Stevens, what's the Tracy camp saying here?
It's so mysterious, but Neil Mickelwright, the complexion of the race has changed so much in the last 10 minutes. How will that impact Paul and his fuel strategy now?
Well, I mean, the way things look now, I mean, we're right on the cusp of being able to make it the rest of the way without stopping. It's really going to depend on fuel consumption here. If we had another yellow, it wouldn't break my heart. But we're just going to have to let it play out.
As long as the yellow doesn't involve the number 3 car.
Good point, Bill.
He's had 2 incidents at the very early laps. This is the 3rd nose cone they've had on that car today.
Keep in mind, though, that Team Australia, both of their cars came in and pitted under that caution. So there's nothing about fuel saving there. They're going to be able to stand on it and use all of their speed. That's going to be tough to defend.
Power 5th, Pagenaud 6th on the restart. The 2 green and yellow Aussie Vineyards cars, there they are now. Justin Wilson has split that group. He's gotten in front of Pagenaud. So Wilson there in the CDW 9 car has moved himself up to 6th. As we get the green flag and we go racing. Here's Oriol Servia in that Forsyth Index 7. They still haven't replaced that bodywork on the left-hand side of the car. Moving around Ryan Dial. This for 8th position. Servia moves to 9th now. And Dial back to 10th. 8th at the moment belongs to Alex Tagliani, who pitted for a splash of fuel just before the end of the last caution, just before the green flag reappeared.
It's going to slow Servia down a little bit by missing that piece of bodywork, but ultimately doesn't affect any of the suspension components. Certainly it slows you a bit aerodynamically, but if the car's set up well, you can still run, obviously, very quickly without a side pod.
Hey, Jan and Rick, some breaking news down here in the McDonald's pit. Sebastian Bourdais' car is getting the bodywork put back on. They did get the car to fire, and it looks like they're going to be able to get him back out to collect some points.
Well, Bourdais right now showing 12th, last car running, 6 laps down. They've got the starter hose in the back of the car. But Bourdais, best he can hope for is to run in 12th. And quite honestly, I'm not certain that they would want to run the risk of doing that. Problems for the 5, Will Power in trouble. Yeah, getting passed there by Ryan Dial. He's got an issue, it appears.
Oh.
Will Power.
Oh, you can listen.
Yeah, he's got a tire down.
Yep, you can hear it dragging.
Left front Bridgestone black Potenza out of air, and Will Power will have to coax the 5 car around. Thought he was going to be in great shape with Bourdais' problem, the winner of the season opener, 2nd in the championship. Now he may end up back around 10th or 11th.
And while we see him come in with a flat tire, we can look and see that we saw Sebastian climb out of the car. So here you have the first 2 guys in the championship, both in big trouble.
And Bourdais' team, I'm sure, realized what I realized when we were talking about it. He couldn't gain any ground. If they had fired the car, he'd already lost 6 laps on pit road. He wasn't going to make that time up in the 13 minutes remaining. Cameron.
I just spoke with Derek Walker very quickly. Said he has a puncture. There was no contact. He's coming in. The tire is locked in the front. They do have a new spare nose cone standing by. They will not need it. Just going to be the tires, and they'll be away.
Bridgestone Reds for the Aussie Vineyards team. There's the tire that was cut. We congratulate Aussie Vineyards, of course, and we congratulate Bridgestone. Announced earlier this weekend, Champ Car has exceeded their expectations. They renew as the series official tire supplier at least through 2009. Great folks to work with, and we're proud to have them as a part of the Champ Car family. Now, what about this? Graham Rahal on the charge. Wouldn't it be awesome if he scored his first Champ Car win here at home, where his dad won his first race 25 years ago? He's closing in on Tracy.
He's closing in on the lead, but there was some radio transmission earlier. Unless there were a lot of you, at least his team told him there's no way you can make it. Don't bother saving fuel. Use the fuel you have and go for it.
And Jan, I did speak with John Tzanikis. He did confirm. I said, do you need 1, 2 laps of yellow? He says, we need a little bit of help.
And that help, of course, that's pretty much, if you want to read between the lines, when you tell your driver, go ahead and use as much fuel. We know that Paul Tracy needs that information. So this is where Paul Tracy's team needs to say, you know what, if you have to use too much fuel to keep Graham behind you, you might have to let him go because he's going to have to make another pit stop.
Well, Jan, that's exactly what they just told him. This looks like it's going to be an economy run right to the end. They are not planning on bringing Tracy in as he locks them up heading into the turn.
That is so contrary to Paul Tracy's nature. Top 2, Tracy in the IndyCar, riding with Ray Hall in second in the Metazone machine. Hey, on the go, you can follow all the exciting Champ Car action with Champ Car Mobile. Series website is champcar.ws. Download a live leaderboard, wallpapers, ringtones to your cell phone. Standard data rates do apply. Ray Hall for the moment riding in second.
The key is that Bill pointed out that they told Paul that in fact Graham was, you said it was counter to his nature, that Graham was going to have to stop again. You could let him by. Like you said, it's counter to his nature. Just because they told him that doesn't mean Paul's going to do it.
Tracy leads, 10:50 to go on the clock. Now you do get to start one more lap. We could run past that time by the amount of time it would take to run a green flag lap here. So, you know, saying we've got probably 11 laps to go. That would put us just short of 90 laps of racing if we stay green the rest of the way. But we've certainly had the unexpected. Sebastian Bourdais is done. The motor gave up in the McDonald's #1 just a few moments ago. The championship leader, 3 wins in a row, will not make it 4 straight here today. His teammate Ray Hall, they're in that light blue car #2 in second. He's carrying the Newman Haas Lanigan banner here at his home racetrack this weekend. His dad Bob and the rest of the family here to watch him. Ray Hall won a couple of Atlantic rounds last year, second in the Atlantic Championship. Graham Rahal may be looking at an opportunity for his first career Champ Car World Series win. Cameron, the points leader, I'm sure not happy to be behind the wall.
Definitely not happy. Sebastian Bourdais sitting here getting some information from his crew about Graham Rahal and what's going on there. Sebastian, what happened to the car?
Just the engine let go, that's it. You know, just I don't know exactly what the failure is, but we think it's the auxiliary on the engine, and just let go all of a sudden. That's it.
I know a tough break with the points, but did you see that Will Power also has had some problems with the flat tire?
Yeah, I guess it's not a good day for the fast cars.
Right on there you have it, a disappointed Sebastian Bourdais.
Half a second the gap. Tracy is the race leader. Second spot belongs to Ray Hall, and you're riding with the 18-year-old in that Metazone car #2. Paul Tracy trying to stay on the button, also conserve some fuel and go for it here. Ray Hall probably has to stop. We will be back with more coverage of the Champ Car Grand Prix of Cleveland in just a moment. We welcome you back to Burke Lakefront Airport in Cleveland with Jan Beekes, Ibrecht Benjamin, Bill Stevens, Cameron Steele on pit road. Race leader is Paul Tracy in the Index car #3. Graham Rahal in that light blue and white Metazone 2 car in second spot. The question is, can they get home on fuel, or will one or both of them need a splash of fuel? 6 minutes to go on the clock. Should be time for 6, maybe a 7th lap of racing, which might catch one of those 2 cars out. That extra lap could make all the difference. The battle for third could be key. Robert Dornbos in the 14 car. There he is. He's battled back after having to take a drive-through penalty early in the Ozjet Minardi car #14. And then Neil Johnny in the Red Bull PKV entry runs 4th. Johnny also should be good on fuel, we think. Cameron, what are you hearing?
Well, Paul, the big question is, can you guys go all the way with the fuel?
We got no problems. We're going to use all our push to pass. We've got plenty of fuel to finish, and stays like this, I think we'll leave here leading the championship today.
Oh, that would be a bonus for sure. So they're doing the calculations in the championship chase with the problems of Bourdais and the problem with Power. They think that Dornbos not only will win this race, but move into the championship lead.
He's got the opportunity to do that. Now, Dornbos has 35 seconds of Cosworth Power to pass time remaining, so should he need it, Jan, he can gather up a good bit more speed here in the closing laps.
And he is visually really closing this gap. You can see that Paul Tracy is making it difficult, or it's difficult for Graham Rahal to get by him, but Dornbos definitely closing that gap. And if they get in fuel trouble, that just would be a gift to Dornbos.
There's Neil Johnny in the PKV Red Bull car #21. Bill Stevens, what about Neil Johnny's fuel situation?
Well, we're down with the man that's watching this for Neil Johnny. It's Mark Johnson. Earlier this year, you gambled on fuel and rolled snake eyes. How do you feel today?
I hope we have a little better luck, but I think we're a little more confident today than we were the last time we did it. I think we're in pretty good shape. The guys on the Red Bull Gulfstream car have done a great job today, and we're hoping we've got about 5 laps left and we can get there.
Are these raw numbers, or are you going by the seat of your pants?
We always go by the seat of our pants.
I love it.
And you hope that those sensors in the seat of your pants are working correctly for Neil Johnny right now, who is 4th. could end up second. Top two, though, remain Tracy in the Forsyth Index 3 in front of Graham Rahal in the Metazone car number 2.
And Rick and Jan, Graham Rahal's crew has stepped over the wall, not completely, not 100% sure, but it looks like they're going to be bringing their car in for fuel.
Well, you would think so. He's run 26 laps, and even if you're saving fuel, you can only do that 27. So, sure enough, that's all he can get out of that fuel tank. Okay, that takes Dornbos, moves him up, as well as Johnny up onto the podium at the time being.
So Graham Rahal has to pit the Metazone car from second. 4 laps to go, roughly. Clock at 3:43 remaining on lap number 86. Cameron, he's headed your way.
Well, I was speaking to his mom just earlier, and she was very happy about the way the strategy was playing out. I walked back by her, and she looked a little nervous. She wasn't biting her nails, but it definitely was one of those situations that today hasn't played out as they go for a splash and go, and he'll be back out.
Graham Rahal has driven a very fine race here today, but with all the early cautions, and really a lot of it's probably guesswork, Jan. You have the computers, but it's experience, I would imagine, and just saying, hey, how do we think this is going to play out?
It all depends on that sequence in that first stop. Of course, he had that incident early on, and you're kind of forced into a different strategy. Paul Tracy is leading this race, funny enough, only because he punted 2 people on the first couple of laps. Because he had to pit to get a nose, he got on a different sequence. So if he has enough fuel to make it, it's unbelievable, but he is definitely getting some heavy pressure speed-wise now from Dornbos.
Robert Dornbos, couple of podiums in his rookie season. Here's the story on the great veteran Paul Tracy, the 03 Series champ, now in his 17th Champ Car season, more than 250 career starts, the 30 wins. Hasn't won in the series for 2 seasons. This weekend in 2005 was his last series win. Might today be his first win of 2007 after enduring a very difficult 2006 for the Forsyth Index team. 2 minutes, 13 seconds to go on the clock. 2 laps of green flag racing. I don't think we'll see a third at this point because PT's got a long way to go to get back to the start-finish line.
He's going to stay out either way. He's run 23 laps. We just saw that Graham had to pit at 26. So they're right on the edge. If they run 3 laps, he could be in trouble. If they run 2 laps, he should make it, but he's not going to be able to run it flat out. And we know that Dornbos, because we heard from his crew, that he doesn't have to save fuel.
Robert Dornbos in that 14 car right behind. That's the Ozjet Merriman's machine. Dornbos, the rookie Champ Car driver with an F1 background. Very, very fine race car driver, very personable young man. And he has been terrific in this series through 5 weekends of racing. Maybe in line to score his first Champ Car win in just his 5th career start. He's got 35 seconds of Cosworth power to pass time remaining.
And our viewers are obviously very well educated because he was at the top of our poll as to who might be the next rookie driver to get a win. And he is oh so close. This will be great.
Now, of course, with Paul Tracy, catching him is one thing. Passing him is something else.
But he has a mechanical advantage. They're not running the same kind of cars. One has to save fuel, and look at that, power to pass. When it comes down to power to pass, Paul Tracy is going to be defenseless because he'll run out before Dornbos.
1 lap to go. Last time around, it's 2.1 miles here. Dornbos draws right up on Tracy. Now, Tracy's had a problem getting off turn 1 here. He may be a sitting duck on the last lap.
Dornbos has to figure out, when do I use my power to pass? Do I save it now, or do I use it on the next straightaway?
Couple of corners to go at Cleveland. Paul Tracy trying for his first Champ Car win in 2 years.
There's still no power to pass. There's not the flashing light on the back of the car yet. Dornbos is going to wait till he comes off of turn number 8.
Less than a lap to go at Cleveland. It gets no better than this. We are glad to have you with us on CBS Sports. The Champ Car World Series Grand Prix of Cleveland presented by LaSalle Bank.
He should be on the power to pass now.
Not yet.
Still don't see the flashing light on the back for Dornbos.
Couple of turns to go. Why hasn't he hit the button?
Paul Tracy may have this thing.
Tracy, final couple of corners. Here comes PT headed for the line of the checkers. Dornbos, does he jump on the button? No, he doesn't. Tracy. And the checkered flag waves, and Paul Tracy somehow takes the victory in Cleveland. And the question for Robert Dornbos will be, why didn't he hit the Cosworth power to pass? He's still got 35 seconds in the bank, and he never used it. Robert Dornbos ends up second. Not that that's bad, but boy, we thought he had an opportunity to win here. Paul Tracy, an upset win. We'll be back. We welcome you back to Burke Lakefront Airport in Cleveland, Ohio. 23 races since this gentleman has been to victory lane. Cameron Steele, Paul Tracy comes up a winner.
Paul Tracy, you guys talked about rolling the dice. This time he came up Yahtzee. Congratulations all around from the crew, and PT still with his helmet on. And he definitely had some problems throughout the day. You mentioned the 2 nose cones. It's been a couple years since he's been able to do this, and we let PT get the helmet off real quick. And Paul, congratulations. It's been a while since he's been here. He's taken a while to get his. Paul, there was a lot of chaos and contact out there. Did you think today could be your day?
No, I made a couple of pretty bad mistakes at the start, and we got into Bruno, which was bad, and also Graham, and really thought we were kind of out of it, and the team did a great strategy for us, and I just want to thank everybody on the crew. They did a great job, and they kept me in the race, and I got to thank everybody, Forsyth and Monster Energy Drink for their support. So I'm just kind of overwhelmed. It's been a long time coming. I've been waiting for this win for a while, and it doesn't seem like it came in the right way, but I'll take what I can get.
A testament to champions never giving up.
Yeah, I just tried to drive as hard as I could. I wore the tires out, trying to keep Graham behind me, and I was just kind of dead at the end.
There you have it, Paul Tracy. A little blown away that he captured this win, but he did it. Let's go back to the booth.
Had to sit out 2 races after getting hurt at Long Beach. Comes back to end a 23-race winless drought. Paul Tracy, the winner at Cleveland. Robert Dornbos has to take 2nd. Neil Johnny gets 3rd. Dan Clark settles for 11th. And Sebastian Bourdais with that motor failure 12th. And the rest of the cars that failed to finish here today. Bill Stevens, what happened with Robert Dornbos?
Well, here he is. I just saw the biggest pig pile I ever saw, and your crew came over. A lot of excitement, but the question everybody has to ask is why no power to pass when it looked you could have caught Paul Tracy?
Well, I wanted to save it to the end. It's a matter of timing, you know, and in the last couple of sectors, in the last couple of laps, I really felt I could push, and I gained a lot on him. And then when I need it, it wasn't there anymore. So you always see, you know, it's always going to happen like that. I saw Paul using it for the last 2 laps, flat out everywhere he could. So unfortunate, but great team job.
Great run.
Well, Robert Dornbos comes home 2nd. Now, according to our figures, he had 35 seconds of power to pass time left, but maybe he didn't realize he had it. He takes a huge lead in the Roche France Rookie of the Year standings. He is 40 points to the good over Simon Pagenaud, 2nd in those standings. Back downstairs.
And a happy crew, of course, here at PKV Racing. Neil Johnny, the first podium for the team. Kevin Kalkoven, team owner there. And, of course, Neil's dad in the background. Neil, it's got to be a great day for you here in Champ Car.
Oh, very great. The team did a great job. The Red Bull car went really well. We had some little problems sometimes, but great strategy and brought us onto the podium.
Definitely a great job today for everybody at PKV. Jimmy Vasser has been saying that you've got it in you. He's definitely very proud today.
Neil Johnny in the Red Bull Gulfstream PKV car rolls home 3rd in front of Justin Wilson. Simon Pagenaud comes back and ends up 5th. Now 5 races complete. Let's have a look at the championship standings. Sebastian Bourdais remains the leader, but Robert Dornbos close in 2nd.
Very close, and it's worth saying that just because the telemetry that we have and up and down pit road says he has 35 seconds, sounds to me like he pressed the button and it wasn't there.
All right, Will Power 3rd in the championship, then Alex Tagliani. Don't forget, next Saturday, CBS Sports Motorsports coverage continues on 2 wheels, 2 o'clock Eastern, the MotoGP Dutch TT Grand Prix. Coming up next, the PGA Tour swings into action with live final round coverage of the Travelers Championship from the TPC at River Highlands in Cromwell, Connecticut. And next Sunday, the Champ Car World Series continues. We'll be at Mont-Tremblant in Quebec, Canada. Check your local listings. It was a great weekend in Cleveland. Wild action on the racetrack, and Paul Tracy comes home a winner for the first time in 2 seasons. For Jan Beekes, Cameron Steele, and Bill Stevens, I'm Rick Benjamin. Thanks for watching the Champ Car World Series. So long from Cleveland, Paul Tracy is the winner of the Champ Car Grand Prix of Cleveland, presented by LaSalle Bank. We'll see you next time.